Karen neighbor made plans for her guests to use my driveway over Christmas. I came home to find a note of Karen neighbor, hand posted into my letter box. It wasn't in an envelope. I had problems with this Karen over my driveway, since I moved in my house in February 2021. First time I met her is when she tried to tow my car out of my driveway. She had a deal with previous owner of my house, who didn't drive, to let Karen use the single car driveway. But since I'm the new owner, that deal is over. Had problems with her still parking in my driveway and it stopped after I got it towed. After I extended my driveway to fit 2 cars side by side, still in front of my house not going over any property lines. Karen demanded the second spot of my driveway. After I said no, she had the nerve to still go ahead and use that second spot. She stopped again after I towed it again. Now onto this note from Karen. In her note she doesn't ask to use my driveway for her guests. It says she already arranged for her guests to use my driveway, from December 20th to January 2nd. She basically told me park on the street, so her guests can use both spots. Also not to unnecessarily tow their cars. I just been over to her house and reminded her, it my driveway. She has not got any authority to let others use my driveway and said I will call tow trucks, the second I see unauthorized cars in my driveway. She said she will call the police. I just said go ahead, send the police to my house when they turn up. I got Ring doorbell, that got footage of me telling Karen no on her using my driveway in the past. Also got cameras on my driveway, with footage of the past problems with her. I still got the note, about her guests using my driveway. She has called the police on me for parking in my own driveway and both times I towed her car off my driveway. I came here to rant this out, before I go on a date with my GF. I got to get this angry mood out somewhere. Edit, thank you everyone for your support. I just thought to get my anger out somewhere, before going out with my GF. I wasn't expecting so many upvotes and comments. I'll start reading the comments now. I had my phone on Do Not Disturb while I was with GF and forget to undo Do Not Disturb. I will reply to the comments ASAP. Racist Karen stops my kids in the store. Once had a lady, I'm indigenous, stop me in a grocery store with my stepchildren, 2 blonde and 1 ginger, and scream for a manager that I was kidnapping these children and they needed to call the police immediately and blocking the door with her cart and body. It was my children's first encounter with abject racism. Something I've tried to shield them from. The manager took one look at my crying youngest child and me trying to comfort him, he was 7 at the time, and started apologizing immediately. The lady then started screaming at him that this effing, Hispanic slur omitted, was in this country to sex traffic children and Trump told us this was going to happen. I've struck people before. Don't know if I've ever considered doing it in front of my kids besides at that moment. Police ended up being called, I have police trauma too but we won't get to that, and removing her. There was the sound of literal applause from other customers being no one could get around her. This shit has happened to me more than once unfortunately. Had another lady just walk up to me and go, "Are these your kids?" Which was the first time my daughter ever called me dad. Edit, people, believe what you want. I've answered over 100 comments. If you can't see that this type of racism is a common occurrence, I don't know what to tell you. I'm done arguing with people that want to invalidate my experience. Because what? A stupid fucking clapping meme that I didn't know existed? Eat one. I said what happened, the way it happened. You're entitled to your opinion, but not entitled to invalidate my experience as a person of color. Another edit, I am so sorry that this is such a common experience. Really. It's heartbreaking and it shouldn't be happening. We're doing what we can as parents and we don't need, our kids don't need, this shit. I'm thinking about all of you and hoping for a better tomorrow. Oh, the owner gave you permission? First time posting, but I run a gardening company and by do I have many, many stories for you. Got a call from a lovely lady who lives interstate to do her gardens. It was a large job, $1,000 plus, and when I finished I gave her a WhatsApp call so she could see the work via video link. Show her the front, she's thrilled, head out the back, show her more work, then I look up and there's a strange lady standing in her garden, a white woman, mid-40s, quite nicely dressed, not druggy looking. What's she doing here? I say to the owner. The woman turns and runs down the driveway, I follow her, she goes across the street and pokes her head through the window of my ute. Hey, what are you doing? I yell at her. All the time still filming her on WhatsApp. She turns and looks at me. You can't film me. You don't have my permission. She shrieks at me. You're in a public space, I don't need your permission. I reply. Well, I'll film you then. She shrieks and pulls out her phone and starts filming me. What were you doing in that property? I ask. I was checking to see if it was vacant. She replied. You can't just walk into people's houses. I reply. But you were in there. She shrieks. I'm there with the permission of the owner. I reply. Well, I've got permission too. She screams. Now remember, I'm on a WhatsApp call with the owner who has seen and heard everything. No, you fucking don't, get the fuck out of my house, you fucking bitch. The owner screams. I'm looking for the old man in blue who was standing here. She screams and points to the side of the road. There's no one there and there hasn't been, fuck off. She then proceeded to rant and rave a bit more until running off. I think I encountered a Karen on meth. I think she was looking to rob the place and my ute. She saw the open gate to the rear of the house, and as I was talking quietly on my phone she didn't realize we were there and came on in. When she saw us she left and went to rob the next thing she saw being my ute. Either that or she was suffering from some drug-induced hallucinations and really was looking for the man in blue, in the back of other people's houses and in the cab of my ute. Anyway, owner was thrilled with my work and paid promptly. Had a real WTF was that moment with her when it was all over. Religious Karen tore down my inflatable decoration. I have a Halloween inflated / run by blower decoration that I have always left out and dressed up until Valentine's Day. It's a skeleton holding a sign that says Happy Halloween. I made different costumes that I Velcro on for each holiday. Unfortunately, a supercell storm blew through and took / destroyed the Thanksgiving stuff I dressed it up in. So I said screw it, I'll be one of those people this year. Christmas now. And dressed it up for Christmas. Velcroed a sign that says Merry Christmas, got his Santa hat and beard, good to go. Well, some Mormons did their rounds and came across my house. Most of them looked and chose to pass by, except two older women, like 50. They came up, one watched and looked around while the other took the stakes out, holding him down and stabbed / tore at it, then hobbled away. I was away from my house but my neighbor got it on their cameras. Unfortunately they left after the house they went to and had parked at the end of the street. So I'm here left saddened that this happened, and even more so that the police basically don't give a shit. I wish that any of my neighbors accepted or kept the flyers I'm sure they handed out, but none of them have any. At least on my street. Why are people so mean? Karen tells me smoking in my yard is illegal. So thought I would post my own Karen story. I live near a city park, by near I mean across the street. When the weather is nice I enjoy a nice fire in my fire pit, a cigar or two with a friend and a glass of brandy. Nice relaxing way to spend the event. So a family in the area started having gatherings at the park every week, which is cool. They can get a bit loud but by bedtime they have stopped, so I am okay with it. However, one evening the Karen of their family came to my house to complain. It seems the smell of my cigars was floating across the street and she found it disgusting. She explained that according to city ordinances it was illegal to smoke in public parks and that my smoke was violating the ordinance. I laughed in her face and said she was nuts. I was on private property and could do as I wished with smoking. She yelled for a while, made threats of police but finally walked off and I thought the matter was done, until about a week later. A police car shows up at my home and the officer explains he has been called with a complaint that I was being drunk and disorderly in public. Additionally, the claim was I had been walking around the park smoking despite being warned that was against city law. The officer and I spoke for a bit, explained to him what I do and how I do it. He said he understood, I was fine and he left. 15 minutes later the Karen walked over to my yard to again complain about my smoking. This time she walked into my backyard uninvited. I just looked up at her and smiled. She started ranting and so I got a good big puff and blew it in her direction, then explained she was trespassing and needed to leave. The same officer arrived 20 minutes later asking what had happened and I told him. He went across the street, got Karen and a couple of her male companions, and brought them over. He asked me to apologize for blowing smoke at her, which I did. He then asked her to apologize for filing frivolous police reports and entering my backyard uninvited. She of course became irate as to why should she apologize, she had done nothing wrong. The officer waited patiently for a few minutes for her rant to wind down, looked at me and asked if I wished to press charges for harassment and trespassing. She looked like she was about to crap her pants. The two guys with her started laughing and walked back over to the park. I told the officer if she promised to leave me alone I would let the matter go. She walked off in a huff, never actually promising to let the matter go, but I was okay with it. They stopped coming to the park and so I just kind of let things slip, and then I saw her son, one of the guys that had been with her at the store. Seems she had made the family move the weekly gathering to another park. That was bit of drive for most of the family. She was still ranting about how I had driven her out of the park a month later. The funny thing is he and that officer now join me about once a month for cigars and brandy.